What's up, guys? Rick here with your preview for this week's Wells Fargo Championship and maybe a little bit on the Myrtle Beach Classic, Myrtle Beach Championship. I don't even know what they're calling it. It is a new event for this year, but stop. Do not fast forward just yet. Two very quick announcements before we get into this. Number one, I highly encourage you to take 1 second and go sign up for my 100% free email newsletter. Every Tuesday, I deliver you last week's optimal lineup, notes, statistics, trends, sometimes trivia on the things that are happening in golf. It is 100% free. And every time I go to events, I grab merch and I give away merch boxes. And all you have to do is be part of the list. That's it. If you're already part of the list, you're already in. So when I went to the Masters, I think I made 3 merch boxes, randomly picked people and sent them out. I've already started to accumulate stuff for the PGA Championship. I've already started to accumulate stuff for the US Open, like this hat, this needlepoint hat that 60% of my Instagram followers gave a thumbs up fire emoji to, and 40% gave a thumbs down to. Stuff like that, right? Stuff that I get as I go out there, shirts, hats, pullovers, whatever it might be. Okay. I put them in boxes. I send them out. That's my thank you to you guys. So 100% free. You should go sign up. Link is in the description. RickRunGood.com/newsletter. The other announcement is that if your one and done has been going horribly, like myself, there is now a second chance on Splash. And I heard you about the payout structure. So this is a much flatter payout structure, $50 entry. So we haven't priced anybody out of this like some of the other ones that we've done. I've heard that feedback as well. And a much more flat, evenly distributed pay structure. This is going to start at the PGA Championship. Okay, so make sure you get in. It's $50 an entry. You can put into 5 entries, and the link is in the description. Splash is legal, fully regulated in like 41 states and DC, something like that. So all good. That's where we've been running our weekly contest, which, by the way, our weekly contest is still there. Wells Fargo Championship. It's already 60 out of 200. So there's only 140 spots left, and we haven't even done the Monday video yet. So you might want to get on that. All the links are in the description. Go check that stuff out. Okay, this week, Wells Fargo Championship. This is my website, RickRunGood.com. This is Quail Hollow, and Quail Hollow is your big boy course, okay? This is a golf course that rewards great driving, long driving, solid ball striking, and you are not going to have the birdie fest like we saw last week in Dallas. I could run you through the winners, but they're big boys, right? Or guys that can just absolutely smash the golf ball. You look at the correlated stats. Strokes gained off the tee is ranked 6th. That means there are only 5 other courses in which strokes gained off the tee is more important than at Quail Hollow. Driving distance is 18th, which means there's only 17 other courses. Approach play is a top 20 stat. Around the green is a top 10 stat. And the reason for that is this right here. All 3 of the longer buckets of proximity, 150 to 175, 175 to 200, and 200 plus, are all being hit from more, and pretty significantly more, than the tour average. So if you're moving farther away from the green, what is more likely to happen? You are to miss the green. So that is why you're going to see around the green be a pretty critical stat for this week. The other thing to note is you can get some tricky spots out there, right? No guaranteed ups and downs. So that's why I think you have more a frequency of more guys playing from around the green, and those positions being a little bit more difficult that you get around the green being such a highly correlated stat for this week. When you look at the kind of wonkier stats, but some of these are pretty good. I mean, distance, strokes gained off the tee, bounce back. Do we ever see bounce back as one of the most highly correlated stats? What does that say? Well, you have to be able to bounce back, but that means you're going to make bogeys, right? You are going to make bogeys. Go look at this at the hole by hole scoring. The first 6 holes last year all played over par. You get a little bit of a reprieve from 7 through 10. That's your scoring opportunity. Then you go back on the defense again, 11, 12, 13, all going to play over par. Then you get 2 last chances. The short par 4, 14, and 15, the par 5. Those are your 2 last good chances at making birdie before you get to the 3-hole stretch that closes this thing out, 16, 17, and 18, which is just very difficult and the most difficult stretch on the course and one of the most difficult 3-hole stretches that we get on the PGA Tour. So those are your paths to birdies. You're going to make bogeys and you got to be able to bounce back. It's rare though that we see it as one of the highest correlated stats. Long drives, longest drives, par 5 birdie or better, sand saves, around the green, club head speed, par 5 scoring, all of those. So we are building a profile here of a long hitting, strong golfer who has a decent short game and can bounce back from making birdies, and he can take care of the par 5s. Easy enough, right? We'll find some of those guys. When you add all that up and look at the last 34 rounds for everybody in this field, the man, the myth, the legend, Ludwig Oberg gets the best adjusted fit. Yeah, he does all that stuff, right? He does it all really well. Hideki Matsuyama is number 2. 1.5 is his adjusted fit. Then Xander Schauffele, Wyndham Clark, no surprise, Tom Hoge. That's the top 5 there. You don't see Rory show up until like 9th on this list, but this is course fit. This is not course history. We can look at course history later, but this makes a lot of sense, right? These are ball strikers. These are guys that hit it far, and they've got decent short games. Wyndham Clark and Hideki Matsuyama's short game, very underrated. Xander Schauffele, very good short game, right? So they're checking off the boxes there. Look at the the penalties for missing some of these fairways and the rewards for hitting long drives. There is basically a quarter of a stroke to a half a stroke penalty for missing the fairway on every single one of these holes, which is sizable. We already talked about the approach buckets and where you're going to be coming in from there. And then when you get on the putting surfaces, don't expect to have a lot of really good looks, right? Or a lot of really short looks. You're coming in from farther out. You're not going to be able to access these pins. So you're looking at those birdie chances from 27 to 36 feet, whether they are made or not. Number 1 in putting boost is Ben Coles, though he has a very small sample size compared to the rest of his peers. Xander Schauffele, Eric Cole, Tommy Fleetwood, and Max Homa also get pretty significant putting boosts based on those numbers right there. So we've already identified Xander in 2 of the adjusted fit spots, how this might be a pretty decent spot for him. Let's go to the cheat sheet. Again, RickRunGood.com, giant database for fantasy golf and golf betting. We've got 4 golfers over $10,000. Rory McIlroy, 11.8, Xander Schauffele, Wyndham Clark, and Ludwig Oberg. Let's start with Rory McIlroy, and we couldn't do anything else but start with his history around the Wells Fargo Championship. When you look at courses for horses and ultimate courses for horses, Rory at Quail Hollow is one of them. Okay, now actually I should have probably done Quail Hollow because we did have the one year where they played the PGA Championship. The PGA Championship at Quail Hollow. So they played TPC Potomac. Wait, we played Trinity Forest, and then they played TPC Potomac recently. Why'd they do that? Oh, because of the President's Cup, right? So two years in the last 5 or 6 years. They've not played the Wells Fargo Championship at Quail Hollow, but Quail Hollow has been on the schedule every single year in one way or another. So you see, he's got 3 different wins. So when Max Homa has 2 wins here, one of them was at Quail Hollow and one of them was at TPC Potomac. All 3 of Rory's wins are at Quail Hollow and piling up the top 10s along the way. He uses his driver as a weapon. He turns into a very good second shot player. He generally putts okay, or at least good enough to get himself into the top 10. So it wouldn't be a Wells Fargo Championship if we weren't talking about Rory McIlroy first and foremost. Now he's coming off the Zurich Classic victory that he had with Shane Lowry. I think vibes are very high. Rory's going to be popular, and it's for good reason. I don't have much of a reason to avoid this unless we check in on Wednesday during the live chat, 3 p.m. Eastern time on the Rick Run Good YouTube channel, and see that he's like 35% projected ownership, which I don't think is going to happen because you've got Xander here, Wyndham Clark we'll talk about, and you've got Ludwig. So I don't think that Rory's going to get to a place where we are kind of priced out from accessing him in fantasy lineups. Xander, so we have already seen Xander pop up, and we haven't even basically just started the show. We've already seen him show up on a really good adjusted fit We've seen him show up on a putting boost. If we go to the power rankings, we're probably going to see, last 36 rounds, he's the best player in this field, 1.83. Him and Ludwig are both in the 1.8s. They lap everybody else. They are a half a stroke better than everybody else. He's 11,500. That's Xander. When you look at his stat profile, it's very, very good. Would I call it great? No, because he doesn't have a win. But there are like all but 8 guys in the world, maybe less than that, that would trade 2024 seasons with Xander, right? It's just a ton of really strong finishes. He's doing it throughout the bag. You talk about bounce back ability. I don't know what his actual numbers are on bounce backs. Makes a ton of birdies, makes a ton of birdies on par fives. I could look up his bounce back number, but guys who have this well-rounded ability are usually very good at bouncing back because it's hard for them to like make multiple mistakes in a row. They just don't compound errors. So this is a really interesting spot here. The last time that people played Xander, he was a little bit of a disappointment. T23 at the Zurich Classic with Patrick Cantlay when they were the pretty significant favorites. I don't know if that's going to keep people away. Maybe nobody even played the Zurich Classic for fantasy purposes, but Xander hanging here at 11.5 is very, very interesting. Because we have Ludwig at 10.3, which I'll get to in a second, Wyndham Clark is in that sandwich pricing. And are we going to get another week, another signature event in which Wyndham Clark is just overlooked? He played himself out of Harbour Town on Thursday, right? Remember this? I was super into Wyndham Clark on last week at Harbour Town. There was a lot of, or not last week, his last start. There were a lot of connections to like point A, point B golf, club down golf, like at AT&T Pebble Beach. I was willing to forgive him for everything he did at the Masters, including missing the cut. I didn't care about any of that. He was miserable on Thursday. Lost 2.5 shots to the field. Then he was one of the best players in the field over the final 3 rounds, including a massive 5.5 strokes gained on Sunday. Tried to apply the pressure to the top of that board. He made a couple of mistakes coming in, but Wyndham Clark is stellar. And now he's going to a golf course that I think there's kind of two decent spots for Wyndham. One that you can kind of be point A, point B, like we saw at Pebble Beach, like we saw at Harbour Town. Another where you can be hit it as far as you want, use your club head speed, tap into your short game, hit long irons into greens. LACC, I'm thinking of Bay Hill, I'm thinking of Sawgrass, places that he's had a ton of success, and this should be no different, right? He has a couple of different skill sets that are very, very valuable, and that's why he's been as good as he has been in 2024 and even going back to 2023. So Wyndham Clark has my full attention, especially depending on if he's the most overlooked golfer in that 10K range, because this man is stealing everybody's hearts. He's stealing everybody's wins almost, right? I mean, the runner-up finish at the Masters, then he bounces it right back with a T10 at Harbour Town. I'm talking about Ludwig Oberg, probably the best ball striker. I'm not even going to walk that back in this field. I know Rory's here. I know Xander's here. I'm not even really going to walk that back. If we go look at the power rankings over the last 36 rounds, he's gaining 1.38 strokes per round in the ball striking categories. That's off the tee and approach. Guess what? It's the best in this field, 1.38. Rory's a 1.16. Xander's a 1.12. Lowry and Finau are also in there. I've showed this before, but if you go back to when he turned pro, which would have been about a year ago, it would have been June of 2023. So I don't know the exact date, but let's just say June 1st, 2023. The 3 best players in the world, basically no matter how you slice that, are Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Ludwig Oberg. Okay, that's the high level of golf that you're getting that's going on a year. And this should be a good spot for him. Now, as it does most weeks, this top end range is likely going to come down to ownership. I think Rory will be popular. I think Ludwig will be popular. I'm interested to see what happens to those other 2 golfers in the middle. The 9K range offers a lot of really good opportunities here. Patrick Cantlay, the last time that he played as an individual, he finished T3 at Harbour Town. He was fine at the Masters. He finished T22 there. Tommy Fleetwood's been one of the best golfers that we've had on tour this year. Just obviously hasn't found a win. Max Homa has probably been better than you think. Let's look at Max's results. And the problem with the 9K range, especially for all of these guys that I just mentioned, lacking the wins. Well, Scotty has sucked up so much of the oxygen and so many of the wins that it's really hard to have a bunch of guys who have found victories. But when you look at Homa's record, so his 2024, he's missed one cut. That was in Phoenix. He's putted great over his last 6. He punted it away at Harbor Town, but outside of that, he's gained multiple strokes putting in 5 of his last 6 outside of his most recent, which is the week after the Masters. Fine. He plays well at the Masters. He loses a little bit on Sunday, gives up his chances at really contending, but he ends up finishing T3. And it's just been a very solid, well-rounded year. He's playing better now, basically since API, since Riviera, than he was even to start the year. So there's no reason to think that's not going to continue. And we saw that this is a really good adjusted fit spot for him. And we know that he has a really good history at this event and at this golf course. So you'll see 1 win at Quail Hollow, 1 win at TPC Potomac. He finished 8th here last year. That was at Quail Hollow. So he's got plenty of experience and plenty of good experience. We need to monitor very, very closely what is going to happen with Viktor Hovland. So he has been basically taking weeks off. When he is going through struggles in his game, he does not play through it. Unless it's like a major championship or something, something huge. He likes to go into the lab and figure it out before he emerges. And he's usually very good at that. And he's usually very quick at that. So you want to be early on someone like Viktor Hovland. Is this the week? I think it's like a medium yes, but any signs of life, and we're going to be a lot more interested in the PGA Championship. I was already getting into some of the analysis of Valhalla and what they've done since the last time that we saw it, and skill sets and stuff like that. And it is going to demand long and accurate driving. Demand it. The problem that I have is that you might not be getting, even if Viktor strikes it really well this week, you might not be getting 2023 Viktor, in which he went scorched earth and dominated everything. Or summer, you might be getting like early 2023, 2022 Viktor. And what I mean by that is he's losing a ton of strokes around the green. Now we're at 6 straight events. It's like over 12 strokes around the green to the negative in those 6 weeks. This is a golf course that we've already talked about, really rewards solid around the green play because you are going to miss these greens. So even if we get, a week like this at Riviera where he gains 3.7 ball striking, I think there is a possibility that he gives back a little bit around the green. So I need to see. So if he can get up and down a lot, if he cleans that part up, I'm pretty excited about Valhalla for him, but I'm just kind of cautiously optimistic for this week. Have we seen enough from Colin Morikawa? To me, he is not passing the eye test. The stats are getting a little bit better. Not always, but he gains 5 strokes on approach to the Masters. He loses 3 at Harbor Town. That's not a good sign, but the putter has woken up a little bit. He's gained 7 strokes putting over the course of his last 8 measured rounds. That does not include the Zurich Classic, obviously, because there's not a strokes gain breakdown for that. But the around the green game's always very good. He's putting a little bit better. It does not pass the eye test. I think the way that he's striking it is, I think it's still wiping it. I think he is still, it's coming off weaker off his club face than I've seen historically. I'm cautiously pessimistic, right? In the same way that I'm cautiously the opposite of being cautiously optimistic. I'm like cautiously pessimistic. I think I could turn on Colin pretty quickly here, but the eye test is really difficult for me. And then Fleetwood, he just might be the best option in the 9K range. Maybe outside of Patrick Cantlay, who's a proven, big time winner. Tommy Ladd has a bunch of really good finishes. He is a great putter. He's a great short game player. He is very good in the ball striking category when things are going well. He did not play well at Harbour Town, was awesome at the Masters, was awesome at the Texas Open. He gave it a little bit away in Florida. Like, he's more volatile than I would like in the ball striking categories, but his record here, 5th in 2023, T14 in 2021. Was 2021 the year they played this in? I guess it would have been, right? That was the President's Cup year. So that would have been TPC. Although, did it get moved? No, 2021 was still at Quail Hollow. So what was the 2022? I guess, because we're in a President's Cup year this year. So 2022 would have been TPC Potomac. Okay, so that's good stuff. So last 2 trips to Quail Hollow, Tommy Fleetwood's gone 14th and 5th. I mean, look at the power rankings. Everybody in this field over the last 36 rounds, Tommy Fleetwood is, oh, that's shocking. I thought he was going to be better than that. 16th. I thought he would have been higher than that. I bet you weighted he is. Let's see. Weighted strokes gained. No, he's not. Because those wins are DP World Tour wins. Huh. I tried, Tommy. I tried to give you one more nugget at the end. Couldn't get you there. The 8K range. So we've got Decky, right? We've got Cam Young, Matt Fitzpatrick, Siwoo. I'm not going to read all these guys off, but we've got a couple things that we need to dive into. I don't even know where to start because there's so much here. We have not seen Hideki at Quail Hollow in like 5 years, right? Played here in 2019. So he's, for our purposes, like no course history. He is such an underrated short game player because his putting is historically not good. He is being, I think, pretty disrespected by this price, considering that he is maybe the best approach player in the last 24 rounds or so. And that includes not a very good start at the Masters where he lost like 2.5 strokes up on approach there. So let's look at this. So last 24 rounds, minimum of 20 rounds, sort by approach play. Is Hideki number 1? He's here. He's gaining a 0.5 stroke per round. Let's do, who else? Why are these guys getting such good boosts here? Here, I'm cherry picking a little bit, but that stretch from Hideki's his last 20 rounds, including the loss. He's like the 7th best approach player, but one of the best ball strikers because you add in the off the tee play. Putting's been a lot better, which is great. The around the green game is always awesome. And for whatever reason, he is always mispriced. This guy won at Riv. He finished 6th at the Players and 7th at the Texas Open. What are we doing here? Why is he $8,900? We need to deep dive Cam Young because Cam Young, when he's playing his best, is a bomber with a very good touch around the greens. But he goes through some really difficult stretches. It looked like he was plugging all the gaps before he got to Harbour Town. Then he regresses and loses everywhere. That is pretty concerning because he gets on runs in both directions. We need to look at Justin Thomas, right? We got to figure out what's going on with JT. What's the level of panic? I'm pretty worried. Missed the cut at the Masters, missed the cut at the Players. He played a lot better at Harbour Town, of course. Now he's still working through the split with Bones, which happened before the Masters. Maybe that was a shock to the system, but he gained throughout the bag at Harbour Town. So this guy's going to suck me in once again. But the talent is just too good. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible. And of course, he won his PGA Championship here. Probably out on Spieth until further notice. I just don't know what the injury stuff is. It's just, there's a lot happening there. Russell Henley's 8,300. Alex Noren is 82. Benny On is 81. Brian Harman is 8,000. This is a critical range. Even Finau at 8,000. But that, I'm a little bit more worried about that. Henley has played awesome, has never really had great success at Quail Hollow, but on paper, it should be a good fit. Noren did something that we have rarely seen last week, and that is gain at least 2 strokes in each of the 4 major categories. I actually have a note for this in my newsletter this week. That is a very rare thing to do, and it's not super uncommon for him because of how well-rounded he is. So he is like a slightly weaker Tommy Fleetwood and a weaker version of Xander Schauffele, right? They're going to play that well-rounded game. They're going to grind. I actually probably prefer Alex Noren if the winning score is 12 under than if it's 23 under. He did get to 22 under last week, so it's not inconceivable, but he's just having a phenomenal year. Probably one of the best stretches of golf that we've ever seen from him. And then Ben On picked up right where he left off, T4 at the Byron Nelson, and his skill set should be awesome for Quail Hollow, right? He is a very good driver. He has only lost strokes. I mean, he never loses strokes off the tee. He's lost a stroke off the tee twice. Not even a stroke, less than a stroke in a year. The putter's a big time problem. Don't get me wrong, but he's been able to figure it out enough this year. So that the bottom of that 8K range is super interesting. I will give Tony Finau, the courtesy deep dive here because the pedigree should warrant a deep dive. And in theory, on paper, this is a good spot for him. These are probably better results than I would have expected. Results, right? T2 in Houston, 55th at the Masters isn't great, but then a T12 at Harbortown, still can't putt. He is still giving up so many strokes on the greens. He's giving up strokes around the green. This is a very difficult guy to back. I'm like a 5.5 out of 10 on him. Remember, there is no cut this week. Guess I probably should have mentioned that off the top. This is a signature event with no cut. So there's 70 golfers, and it will not be like the Memorial or Riviera. There's not a cut here. So you do get the 4 guaranteed rounds. Sung J M burned me. Yeah, that WD, that was tough. Had him in a lot of one and dones. From what I understand, though, it was just illness. Just got sick, wasn't ready to go. As dirty as this sounds, if I was interested in Sung Jae last week, I kind of have to be interested in him again. Do I not? Will Zalatoris is super cheap, $7,900 for someone who should thrive on essentially major championship golf courses. Here's the problem, the putter. So here's how I'll say this. In the same way that we might be getting early 2023 Victor Hovland, which is still very, very good, we might be getting, a year ago, early or late 2022 Will Zalatoris, which is those guys are going to have to overcome a flaw in their game. And they're strong enough to do that. They're strong enough to, outpace themselves with ball striking, but it just creates the paths to the top of the board becoming much more narrow. And if you do that, you're no longer this like nuclear option where you're going to be in contention every single time and you could win. Now it's like everything has to go right to get you into contention. You have to overcome that one flaw. So that's the way that I describe both of those guys. The rest of the 7K range has some pretty good options. Christian Bezuidenhout finished T3 at the ISPS Handed Championship in his last start. Steven Jaeger's the only guy who's beaten Scotty Scheffler recently, has a great little short game. He can do a lot of different things. He keeps piling up these top 20 finishes. All good there. Denny McCarthy, remember, it was just a couple of starts removed from him going to battle with Akshay and at the Texas Open and would have beat anybody else with the score that he put up. Has gone T8, T25 in his last 2 trips. The other name, Adam Schenk's starting to play better again, right? And I think this is worth a deep dive because he played great at the end of last season, which I think he then got himself into the Tour Championship. And then the start of this year was a little bit loose. Well, look at what he's fixed, right? So after losing strokes on approach in 6 out of 7 during this stretch and 7 out of 9 on that longer stretch, he's now gained on approach in 4 straight. Ball striking numbers way up. Putter's usually pretty good. He's actually given back a little bit in his last 2 starts, but it's usually much, much better than that. Adam Schenk is a big, strong guy who can move it and plays really well. I like his game. Had a T9 here, had a T13 here, has missed some cuts, but this is a guy trending in the right direction, and the price is not really reflective of that just yet. So there's a lot of really good options in the bottom of that 7K range. And because it is a signature event, you get some really good names in the 6K range as well. I'm still waiting for the bounce back on Keegan Bradley, though I don't know if it's going to be here. This is a good spot for him, 18th, 2nd, and 35th. August, that second was TPC Potomac. I got to keep remembering that 2022 year. But still, I just think he's just too good to be putting up these bad finishes. Adam Hadwin, quietly playing really good golf. This is not a good spot for him. We've seen guys get spurred by their friends winning, their countrymen winning, whatever that is. The Canadians are on a very good run right now. Adam Hadwin, a little bit of a flyer. I want to give props to Austin Eckroat. He just never stopped after his win. And I think I've talked about this before. After the victory, most guys take a sigh of relief. He did not. He just continued to play well, continued to flush it. I need to see this again. Gain a half a stroke putting like you did at the RBC Heritage in your last start, and we're talking about some good stuff right now. Finished T11 at Zurich. That was obviously a team event, and we don't have the breakdown, but you can argue that he probably made some putts there. So Eckroat at $6,600 feels like a pretty good steal. I think Nick Taylor, who has a couple of decent finishes at this event and is better than the vast majority of the guys that are around him, is criminally mispriced at $6,200. Nick Taylor might be a top 30 player in the world. He's the same price as Kevin Tway. He's the same price as Seamus Power. No offense to those guys, but that's not right. I mean, I can look this up. I want to deep dive one more guy too. I want to look at two Nicks. I want to look at Taylor and Dunlap. So T10 or 10th place finish at Zurich. Yeah, Harbour Town was bad. Yeah, the Masters was bad. Valspar wasn't horrible. He didn't putt well, but he did putt better at Heritage, and he's usually a much better putter. How far off could he possibly be? I mean, two bad events, and one of them was at least a positive with the putter, which is something that he struggled with. That seems like a bit of an overreaction. Then Nick Dunlap, who you guys know, I just think that he's just very much in over his head right now, as expected, is starting to play better. Long story short, he wins as an amateur, turns pro, and gets thrown into the gauntlet of the PGA Tour. Look at how he's starting to figure it out. T11 in Houston, gains across the board. He missed the cut at the Masters, but he flushed it. Did not play well at Harbour Town. Unique golf course. It's fine. CJ Cup, Byron Nelson, finishes T30 and gets us more green on the board. We're seeing the learning curve. We're seeing the maturation process. It's happening. It's happening. Here's the trends tool real quick. So last 36 rounds, this looks at every golfer's 100 round baseline, then looks at their last 36 rounds and says, okay, well, what type of player are they now? Look who's getting the biggest boosts here. Alex Noren is playing over a half a stroke better than his 100 round baseline. Wyndham Clark playing nearly 2/3 of a stroke better than his 100 round baseline. So he's up to like the 5th best trending player. There are some decent options here. Sahib, didn't even mention him. A lot of really good players in this field. We'll talk about Myrtle Beach in just 1 second. Let's run a model. Custom model, RickRunGood.com. All right. So what do we know? We want a strong off the tee player, right? So we are going to do strokes gained off the tee. And strokes gained off the tee is generally you can get away with that for a longer period. So we're going to do 25 off the tee for strokes gained last 50. We're going to do just a little bit. Strokes gained approach last 24 for 15, just a little bit. Then for around the green, we are going to go last 24 for 25. And then just so we round out our own putting thing, we're just going to put 10 on strokes gained putting last 12. So now we've got 25 left. So we could do a couple of items here. We could do sand saves. We could do scrambling. We've already done around the green. We could do, you know what we could do? So there was, what was on there? Bogey. We could do bogey avoidance. Okay. We'll put 10 on bogey avoidance. We will put 5 on, there was something else on the key stats that I wanted to do. Oh, par 5s. So we'll put 10 on par 5s. So go to hole types, strokes gained, par 5, 10, and our last 5 we'll put on course history for Quail Hollow. Probably should have more on this, but we will, we'll run plenty more models this week. My number one golfer is, I'll zoom in for you, Xander Schauffele. Siwoo Kim is number 2. Alex Noren is number 3. Akshay 4. Hideki 5. Wyndham Clark edges out Rory McIlroy 6 and 7. Kevin Tway 8. Steven Yeager 9. Ludwig Oberg is 10. Oh man, we're gonna have to run some more models. We'll save this one. This will be Monday, Wells Fargo Championship. Okay. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna loop back real quick. We're gonna go back to the cheat sheet. We're gonna drop this down, and we are gonna look at the Myrtle Beach Classic here. As of right now, we do not have salaries. Okay. This is a brand new event. Okay. There is no history here. Brand new event. So what are we looking for? We are looking for guys that are playing well and guys that are better than their peers. It's a pretty weak field. So Thurston Lawrence is the best in terms of strokes gained total over the last 36 rounds. He's gaining 1.5. Let's see why. Probably DP World Tour stuff, I would imagine. Yeah, it is. 19th at the Magical Kenya Open, 10th at the SDC Championship, runner-up at the Workwear Open. It comes over here to the PGA Tour, misses the cut in Punta Cana, misses the cut in Zurich. I can give him a pass for Zurich because it's a team event. Not great to see him miss the cut in Punta Cana, but maybe now, I mean, that's his first PGA Tour start since the Scottish Open of last year, so basically a year. Maybe he's got to get into the routine a little bit from flying over from Singapore or wherever he came from, maybe South Africa, maybe he came from home. So still very, very talented. I wonder what his price is going to be. Again, we don't know. I don't know the prices here. McNeely's the second best player. There's only 2 golfers over the last 36 in this field who are gaining strokes, or at least 1 stroke per round. Davis Thompson, I will just continue to just roll with that for as long as possible. Andrew Novak should demolish this field, right? Just another really good fit. Another T30 at Byron Nelson. Has to be licking his lips to get a field this week. Let's look at best approach players. Knox is in this field. Russell Knox. Henrik Norlander's been sneaky good, right? Would love to see what these salaries are going to be. Oh, he hasn't been all that good. It's okay. You know, played well in Mexico, played well at the Puerto Rico Open, made the cut to Byron Nelson, but okay. No, he was good for 3 rounds last week and then had a colossal, miserable Sunday. So that's not as bad as I thought. Punta Cana made the cut there. Also had a very bad Sunday. I'll tell you what, first 3 rounds, he's been lights out. My God, he keeps having like one horribly miserable round. Lost 6 strokes on Friday at the Houston Open. Anyway, all right. We'll cover that more on Wednesday during the live chat when we know what the salaries and stuff are. Go sign up for my newsletter. Get yourself in a draw for swag and also just like enjoy the read along the way. And then if you want to get into that second chance, one and done, links in the description as well on Splash. Get yourself in there. Win a couple $1,000 if you can. Best of luck this week. I'm getting stoked for the PGA Championship. Getting stoked. This time next week, I'll be on a plane. So very, very excited. Looking forward to getting out there. Best of luck. I'll talk to you guys soon.